Hello everyone, welcome to the Notion webinar this week. This week is going to be all about building personal and professional CRMs. We're going to take a few minutes right now to get started, so to get the ball rolling, get any questions that you guys who are live on YouTube would like to answer. And naturally you can pop them in the live chat. But then we'll begin in around 2 or 3 minutes into actually building it from scratch, a concept that you might be able to apply in your everyday situation, whether that's a personal CRM for being able to manage how many times you keep up with your friends, to all of the, sort of runnings of work, professional CRMs, whether that's doing a sales pipeline for some sort of structure, and also being able to sort of manage who you're speaking with. So I think this one will be useful. Seen a lot of people sort of talk about the whole whether you can build a CRM-like tool inside of Notion. So if anybody has any questions, pop them in the live chat. First off, I apologize that we're starting a little bit late. I think I actually originally scheduled this for 2:30, but we're going to be starting about 20 minutes late. But that's only because I normally start this time. I'm not sure why I decided to even put it in the other time. So good question from Andrea. To start out, what is a CRM? CRM is basically a customer relationship manager. They're normally tools like Salesforce and other such tools, like you can use them for specific things. But the goal with building it in Notion is to have a little bit more of a simplistic one. For the situation of professionals, Andrea, it might be a useful way to see almost like a contacts list, but also to track sales, to track leads, to be able to keep in touch with clients and things like that, attach them to projects that might be useful. So hopefully we can build on that one. And if you wanted to use it for personal situation, it might be handy if you were to say, wanted to continually keep updated in, your friendship circle, making sure that you're always, always making sure you're keeping. Okay, so Andrea put, great, I'm a small business and need simple. So I think that might be useful. You can, I think what we'll try and do as well is show you that you could connect this to, say, relationally to another database that might be helpful. So yeah, it should be pretty cool. So Tanya, hello from Portugal. Awesome to have you. Kenshi, good to have you as well. Let's just roll into this one, I think, because I think people, there's not many questions to get started. Just before we dive in, if you're new here, subscribe. And if you enjoy this one throughout there's a like button just below that. And you can find out all the details there for Keep Productive. But let's go into the workspace that we have built here. So as you can see here, this is just the webinar sheet that we normally go off. So we're going to be building a personal or professional CRM inside of Notion. So we have the professional one here, but I actually want to start with the personal. I'm not sure why, I just think it might be a bit nicer. So you can see here the sales CRM. We're going to create a sales CRM for a team looking to track and convert leads. And we're also going to build one for a freelancer, which might be useful for Andrea, who's in the live chat. Freelancer building a database for useful people that they may want sort of shareability, a directory of people to some extent. So we'll build that inside of this page. Do apologize because it's proper windy outside. The personal one's going to be a bit more focused on tracking the last time you spoke with family, friends, and colleagues in like a nice gallery. And trying to add some reminders as well, so that you sort of get nudged when you've got things coming up. Now, the cool thing is I was going to add in a few of the formula. Maybe we can find some on Twitter that you can actually use to get sort of a deadline of stuff. So maybe we'll do that. There might be a few other notes, like, for example, connecting some CRMs. But let's just dive into building our personal CRM. So obviously, you want to start with a database because a CRM is a really useful tool to have. And, it's going to be scalable. You want to be able to connect it up with other relational databases, especially when it comes to the work situation. Now, let's talk about a few of the benefits of having a personal CRM. I think these days it can be a little bit tricky to make sure that you're keeping track of all these relationships with some friends, making sure you're seeing them, and also family and friends, because some people find it a little bit overwhelming, especially if you're an introvert, to be able to have some sort of like tracker. And I was reading a few articles as well, one in the Atlantic, which I'm sure I could find. Let me just have a little look. The Atlantic, I think I must have saved it. Yeah, it was about the rise of a personal CRM. I'll post it in the live chat actually, because that might be a useful read for you. But the whole concept of actually being able to manage your relationships can be, very useful these days. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create this into a gallery, because what I think would be useful to get started is to add in some visuals, because you may want to maybe have a visual way of seeing your friends. Your faces are quite nice to have, I think. So I'm going to get rid of all these examples. And as you can see, this is a gallery database. So I'm going to add a cover. I'm also going to add a nice icon. So it could be, I don't know whether they have friends. I just put a picture of a dog. I don't know. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down and put them as small, because if you have lots of friends, then you may want like smaller previews. But what I'm also going to do is have it as page content showing, because I don't necessarily need to know, details, for example. So I've got a few photos here. I'm going to say, like, let's pop Leo DiCaprio, because he seems to be a good friend, Matthew McConaughey, and Tom Cruise. All of these typical friends that I have. I think that one went in. No, it didn't. So as you can see, they're sort of going in there. Not sure why the Tom Cruise one isn't loading. I'll try that in a moment. But as you can see, the reason why it shows these pictures instantly is because I've got the card preview on. Now, one of the things you may want to do is press the fit image if you wanted to see everything like full page instead of like a very serious eye line. It's up to you, really. Let's just go out of this and come back in, because it may have just sort of refreshed. No, it didn't. So what we'll do is we'll add the Tom Cruise. There we go. It seems to be adding it now. So these are my three friends. Quite clearly, I hang around with these guys. But, this is where you can start adding more details. So you may also like to see it in a list view. So you may want to add that to start off with. So you can call this one the list. Or actually, you can say directory. I don't know. It's sort of like having a file of facts in the old days. I guess you could add in all your stuff. And now you can see all of the people's names, which is pretty cool. So if I go back to gallery view, maybe I want to start adding a bit more detail about my friends. So, Leo DiCaprio, let's say I'm going to get rid of this property type, because I don't necessarily need the date it was created on. You may want, if you had, say, a new friend, like the date you met. I don't know. Maybe that's a good starting point. Maybe let's get rid of this property and let's add date met. Now, you could actually set this to an actual day. So you can have your anniversary of your friendship, or you can actually have a created time, which might be useful. So this is the date we met, apparently, and it will automatically go off of the date that is on your system. So apparently we met only a minute ago, which is a blossoming friendship with me and Leo. So what I could do is I could say automatically add a multi-select, because obviously once you add more and more friends to this, you may actually want to, it feels weird doing a personal CRM if I'm honest, but like you may want to be able to sort of break it down, whether it's a friend, family, or workmate. So in this case, I'm going to put type of friend and make sure it's a multi-select. So in this case, it's a friend, but obviously you've got family and workmate. So obviously you can add those different ones. So you could have two. You could be like, oh, he's a friend and also he's a workmate. Let's say, obviously I'm an actor, of course. And we can then go and add a few more sort of fields. So in this case, I could add a phone number, because I could be like, phone number. And I'm just going to add, of course, Leonardo DiCaprio's phone number. So I'll just be like, blah, blah, blah. So there you go. So that's handy when you're on your actual phone. You could, for example, call them up. Really easy to do so. You could also add an icon at the top if you wanted to. I don't know. You could probably try and find in a movie thing. So maybe like that snapper thing. And down below, you don't necessarily need this, but if you were to use this space below, what you could do is you could go ahead and add a cover and change the cover to this photo of Leo. Because if you wanted, for example, to add, I don't know, like you could be like, add notes on different things. Like, I don't know what you'd add, but like what you last talked about. I don't know, like things that you're planning in the future. Could be like, I don't know, with my friend Steve and Jack, it's like, oh, we're going to see a 1917 movie in January. So it's like making sure that you're going to see that. So, you know, you could have different sort of notes down here if you wanted to, and then you could add the cover as this picture. And then all you'd have to do if you add the cover as this picture is go to page content and change it to cover. So in this case, I'm actually going to do that because the more and more I change this, the more and more, you know, let's do this as we do it in real time. So let's get to the Leo. I didn't like me there. Right, go to Leo. So that's uploading there. And let's move out there. So obviously when I add this, it zooms in back again. So I may want to go to the fit image. So let's go back to the Leo area. I can see a sort of very detailed photo. That's maybe why you wanted the thing below. But what I could do as well is I could add a field like date. For example, this could be their birthday. Really simple field, but it helps you not to remember it, not to remember it, Jesus. So for example, I don't actually know when Leo DiCaprio's birthday is, 2nd of September. So you could put this in advance and add a reminder to it 2 days before to buy a present. So actually, let's do it for next September. So obviously they don't have a recurring feature, but when they add a recurring feature, you could actually have Leo's birthday there. And there we go. You can see a reminder for his birthday. And finally, you can then be able to add this field of last edited time. So what you might want to do is use the section below to be able to add the times when you'd be seeing people. And this might be useful for example, keeping updated with them. So in this case, you'd be last time updated. And this is where you interact with it. But the thing that you could do is add another property that was like date, or you could say next date or next meeting, because then you could add obviously when you want to see them, which is next time. There we go. So next meeting. So this could be useful for a bit, for example, being able to go in and be like, okay, when did I last see them? It was the 18th. And when is our next meeting? Okay, we're seeing each other on Monday. So you can start to sort of be able to modify that. And in time, you can also add a specific time and also a reminder like 1 day before, etc. So what is quite nice is if you want to obviously make that a relative date, that's going to come up pretty nicely, like Monday pops up there. So yeah, I mean, the concept is really simple. What you could do is then start adding some properties. For example, you could go where type of friend and start adding them. So I could do that for Matthew McConaughey and Tom Cruise, which might be handy. So this is a good way of being able to jump in and see, who you've actually seen for the week. So you could add a few more different views, for example, calendar views. So you could see, typing in this one as a calendar view, create the calendar view. Now, of course, you may want to be like, okay, when is people's birthday comes up? When are people's birthday come up? So obviously we've got a lot of different date properties that are associated with this database. So you can say, okay, when's the date we met? Oh, I met them all on the same day at the same time. Very weird. You could be like, okay, when was the last time I spoke with them? Okay. Obviously that's going to be a fixed one because that's whenever you edit it. But when is our next meeting? And you could be like, oh, I'm seeing Leo on Monday. I'll maybe see, I can actually go on here and be like, oh, actually, I haven't got a next meeting date for Tom Cruise. I can move him to the New Year's Eve. So, you can get a better sort of idea of how to do it and sort of manipulate it. But the other way you could do it is add a board, which could be your sort of planner. Go ahead and create that. And obviously you can break it down based on different types. So if you were like, okay, I need to catch up with some friends you can actually go to when's the last time you interacted with that person and move them between the statuses. You can even obviously add more filters, more sort of deals, and you could add properties as well. So in this case, you could say like the last time, actually, let's go to list view or directory view and add a filter and make sure the date or the last updated is on or before or on or after tomorrow. So you can see that nothing comes up. So obviously that, you know, actually that's a bad example, is on or after. Yeah, I put that on or after today. Today. Yeah, okay. So I may have screwed that one up. So you can say, you can look for sort of future meetings. So you could be like date met, date met. I'm screwing this up. Next meeting is, or on or after, and you could say tomorrow. So you can start to see the dates that you've got coming up next just by adding those meetings there. So that's quite handy for being able to see, like, okay, you know, what are my friends up to, and how can I keep updated with them? So obviously that's very handy. I can go in and, you know, add his birthday's tomorrow and start adding more numbers and say Matthew Conway is part of the family, etc. So that's a personal CRM. There's more ways that you could sort of take this a little bit further, I think. I think you could play around with the filters use, which could be quite useful. You could play around with your existing events calendar. So maybe an example of that could be if you were to make a new page, not a Google Maps integration. If you were to make a new page and went ahead and create as a calendar, and then you could basically go to properties and go down to relation and connect it up with, what did I call it? Personal CRM. So it takes a few moments, obviously, create the connection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to sort of link that one up. So I'm going to go to add a new event. So let's say, you know, example, you know, 31st, I want to go see the 1970 movie, which is coming out. So I may be like, okay, friends to bring. I could go and go, oh, I want to bring Leo and I want to bring Tom. So you can see there that they both obviously are added to that. So it can be like movie trip. And I can then see from a glance that I've got these two, and I can go back out. And obviously this might take a little bit of shaking around, but I can go back out and I can go, oh, these are the ones that are connected to. So I can see movies or calendar events. So I can see, for example, Leonardo DiCaprio, my next meeting with it is Monday. But what's cool is that I have a calendar event here that's sort of set up. But what you could do as well with that is that, for example, if you had a specific date inside of that 1950, 1917 movie, you could say dates to meet up. So you could actually cull this manual way of doing it if you had a calendar. It totally depends on if you have a calendar or not. So if I were to select the relation, calendar events, select the date and show original. So that's just, you know, the next movie date. So if I got rid of this one, boom, 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 you can see there, dates to meet up, and it automatically pulls in. And let's just say I go back and I update my calendar. It's really cool how you can do this. Like I've just done that in seconds, but I'm pulling a bad example. So if I go to the United that we created, we're going to call this one calendar and add an icon of calendar. And I'm going to say, okay, I've got my go-karting. So it can be like, just for this example, car, and bring in a car. Then I could say, okay, I'm going to bring Leo again, and this is a fun day out. So me and Leo, and let's just say we're going to take, for the fun of it, seeing as we haven't taken Matthew McConaughey anywhere, we'll bring Matthew McConaughey. And if I go back out here, go to personal CRM, go into Matthew McConaughey, you can see there, go-karting, January the 15th. So that's the next time I'm meeting him. And I can also go to Leo, and you can see that the two dates are separated. So this is quite a cool way. I'm actually considering doing this. This could be quite cool. So it can be like, oh, calendar events. I got 1917 movie, and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty chill now that I'm actually happy that I've got a regular sort of meetup with him or them. So I could be like, right, I could try and I'm going to try and push this a little bit more. You know, like it might not be useful, but let's see whether I can do something cool. So if I said it is related to the date, let me see. So if you wanted, for example, if you wanted a roll up showing the next time you'd meet them, then you can choose earliest date. And what's cool about that is it summarizes it. So for example, you could be next or countdown. So that's pretty cool. So if you wanted a countdown, you could do that. If you wanted percentage empty, really useless one, count empty. So you could say count values. Yeah. So you could say, you know, this, like you're seeing him 2 times coming up soon. So, you know, once the 1917 movie's ticked off and you actually take it off your calendar or tick it off or archive it, then it should go down to 1. I guess if it passes. So that's the concept. I really like that concept. Like that's quite cool. So you can see how many times you're seeing them. Same with, and you can just show original, or you can show date range. That's weird. Okay. So if you wanted to see like the dates between the days. So for example, like you know, longest unseen. Think about 15 days. Oh, we're not going to see each other for 2 weeks. I'm going to fix that problem. So that's how to, you know, continually maintain a relationship with Leonardo DiCaprio, apparently. So that might be a neat way to do it. So we've done the personal CRM. Let me just pause and see whether the live chat has any questions. Okay. So we've got a few. Kunil, hey, Torin, back again. Let's just jump back to sort of me yabbering. Wow, it's been half an hour. Oh, no, it's been 20 minutes. Kunal, hi. So this one will be published to YouTube afterwards. Torin, I still haven't got my head around CRMs yet. Yeah, it'll take a bit of time. Like, I wouldn't say don't rush yourself. Torin did say he's going to have to build it. Bailey said, good luck trying to get in touch with Tom Cruise on New Year's Eve. Yeah, 100% agree. Rob says, hello. Hello, Rob. Andrea says, does Notion integrate with Google products? It's currently a no, Andrea. I would love to see that personally. It's a shame, isn't it? But they'll obviously be working on that. Tanya put, usually always gets published on YouTube afterwards. So yeah, all are okay. So yeah, good that we got. If you've got any questions throughout this or you want to like the video, you can do. Let's jump onto the sales CRM side of stuff or the professional side of stuff. We're doing okay on time, actually. We're sort of storming through. I'm actually I'm honestly impressed at my own setup. I don't know whether it's my mouse. I'm just going to refresh Notion. It might be my mouse because I'm just like, it's a little bit of a sticky mouse. Yep, all okay. It's nothing to do with Notion, thank goodness. Right, here we go. So let me share this screen with you guys. So as you can see here, we built the personal CRM and it was all very helpful. Now we're going to go and build a sales CRM. So sales CRM, the purpose of it would be to track and convert leads. So this could be a good way if you and your team are looking to sort of get that sales up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a board first and then a table second. Now, you may want to do this in 2 ways. You may want to actually just like be able to like have a directory of your team whilst actually bringing in the sort of project. But I think you can bring it all into one sort of sales area. So obviously we're going to change the board titles here. We're going to move them between lead, meeting, and proposal. Because, you know, that's a very simplified version of what you're actually going to get. So in here, we could say, you know, a lead could be Apple. So obviously Apple, very big company. Let's get their logo, Apple, of course. And let's go ahead and what you can do is begin assigning it to someone. If you've got sales CRM and you want a pipeline, you can assign it to someone. So in this case, it could be like, right, Alice is getting this one, and you could have the status there. So obviously a sales CRM might be linked to this. So you may not want to build it directly to it. So obviously what we're going to do is we're going to leave a space for the actual connection there. So what we're going to do is, it looks like, we have Alice who's managing Apple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out of this and I'm going to go and create a page. I'm going to call this one Sales Directory. And we're going to have bus stops, fine. We're going to have a list. Actually, we're going to have a table. So what we're going to have here, we're going to have contact name. We're going to have last chatted. And we're going to change this one to last edit time. So that could be useful for when you're keeping an eye. And you're going to put their email as well. So I'm going to go make sure to select email. And I'm also going to put the company that they're associated to. So that could be a multi-select there. So I may have done the original one a little bit differently. Let's actually start it from here. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this one Joe Blogs. So last time I chatted with him was this time because it was the last time I edited it. So I think that's quite handy. I'm going to say joe.blogs@apple.com. And I'm going to link it to Apple. So obviously you may want like a sales directory of the people's names, but you may want the company one as well, which could be helpful. So obviously, that could be a separate page itself if you did want to. So you may want to be like, actually, let's not do that. So you can see Joe Blogs is here. We've got the company details. What I can do is I can go back to the Sales CRM and begin connecting it. So what I want to have is I want to have a relation and I want to select a database. And what we're going to do is we're going to call this one the Sales Directory. So it should come up. There we go. Create relation. And we're going to call this one contact name or person, because obviously that's going to be connected to Joe Blogs. So Joe Blogs appears. And what we're going to do is we're going to go out and give it a bit of a sort of spruce up. So we're going to go and add him an icon. Joe Blogs is apparently a horse racer, but you can see there that it's connected to Apple in the Sales CRM. So that's quite handy. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out of this one and we're going to go up to Sales CRM and we're going to go back into Apple and we're going to start adding some relation to money. So we're going to put deal size. So we're going to go to number and make sure that the number seems to be not appearing. Let's just add 40,000 for the sake of it. There we go. So when you add a number, that's when it appears. So $40,000 for this deal, which seems to be good. And let's put it just below there. And obviously what we're going to do is we could also go ahead and roll up. So that's bringing in a data and say email. Configure roll up, connect it to contact person, which is the person above Joe Blogs, take his email and bring it show original. So there we go. We've got his email being brought in so that, for example, if the person did change, then we can obviously bring that person in. So that's very handy. So we can see that Apple's obviously a big deal. So now what we can do is we can even show the page content, which hasn't appeared for some reason. I think it's because there's no page content. There's just the page. So there's no need to bring it in actually. So what we're going to do is add, no need to add status. Let's add the contact person, the deal size, and the email. Maybe not the email. So there we go. We have the opportunity to bring that across. And what we can do here is we can drag it across the different statuses to be able to sort of manage our little sales CRM. But I guess this isn't really the CRM. This is more of a pipeline feature. But you're sort of bringing it in using the abilities here. So let's go into the sales, the actual directory that we created earlier, and let's build on this because you may want to add more and more over time. As you can see here, it's related to Apple. So you may even want to get rid of this company detail because it's already linked. So you could change this one to company. And it's already linked to Apple. So you could even move that just next to his name, Joe Blogs. So there's different ways you can do this. You can move it into a gallery view if you wanted to, and you can naturally be able to add more details. So for example, you could just add, Joe Blog looks incredibly like Matthew McConaughey. So let's go to page content. And when it loads, it should show a photo of Matthew McConaughey. So there we go. So Joe Blog looks incredibly like that, but you could also add properties like, for example, his email, last chatted, which could be quite helpful. Now, this is where the filtering comes in. If, for example, you wanted to, let's add a few more examples here. So let's just add Sue blogs. They have they don't work together, but you could, for example, connect up they work in Apple together apparently. So Sue blogs at apple.com, and you could begin being able to see sort of that. So you can go over to the gallery area and naturally see Sue blogs right next to her. So the filters can be used in different ways. For example, you could filter down based on a company. So if you wanted to, you could set that filter up to only see Apple contacts. So in this one, I could go over and change it. So it could be like Apple Inc.'s list of contacts. So you and your team could start really filtering and adding lots to this. You could take the filter off and you could naturally change the last time you chatted. So you can make sure you keep updated with the latest contact. And also, for example, if you were to go over to the default one, you could be able to monitor it based on how much that deal is. But in this case, you don't actually need to know that. If you wanted to know that, you could, for example, go into roll up and create company, bring in deal size and show original. So there we go. So you can see the value of that person. So if you wanted to, you could be like, okay, right now I'm going to see the value is anything that is higher than 30,000. I can then see. So you may want to focus in on the big deals, the smaller deals, but that could be a good way to do that. Now, of course, there's different ways of sort of doing it. But if you were in that sales CRM and you wanted to continue to, be able to build up this, pipeline of Apple and sort of what relationships they've got, you could even bring in meeting notes. And this is where you can use a relational database. Type in meeting notes. I'm sure I've got millions of them for examples. So let's use the one we used last week and connect up the weekly sync that we had with them. So you can even bring in some of the contact and meeting notes that you may have had with a specific CRM or relationship. And the same goes to bringing them closer to the directory. So you could, for example, if they were involved in that meeting, this individual. So if I said roll up and I made sure I selected the meeting notes, so you can see the meeting notes that they were connected to. So that's all connected to Apple. So obviously all the meeting notes will show up for that person. So that's a few of the ways that you can build a CRM. I would have done it slightly differently. I just sort of did it on the spot with you guys there, but I probably would have done it a little bit neater. For example, creating a more sort of focused sort of setup. So maybe a little bit neater than that next time. So guys, let me check if I have any questions. So the one thing I'd say is that sort of social CRM, the personal CRM, is a really good way to sort of manage ways to be able to keep in touch with people. I quite like the concept of it, if I'm honest, but it's something that obviously really dependent on yourself. So Torrin put, can I have a personal CRM and an events/meetings database, then link them each together and the main calendar? I'm sure you can actually. Yeah, because I did that. Yeah, so you can connect up. You just have to make 2 relations out of it on the main calendar, because as long as you have the calendar connected up, then that's something that you can do quite well. So of course, yeah, you can do that. And that's something I'm considering. Like after just playing around with that, like I realized that if I were able to plan my social calendar better using this main calendar, like I was using that main calendar a lot before, but I don't really see the benefit of relational databases and how they could be brought together in that. So I'm just thinking about that. So guys, that was the webinar, the last webinar of the year. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys. So a really big thank you. I hope that you have a fantastic Christmas. If you liked this one, please do hit like on this YouTube video, because it helps other people to find and discover good Notion content. I say good, useful Notion content. And also, if you're brand new here, I'd really love to have you as a subscriber. We're looking to put more exciting stuff out. And also, if you're interested, we do have the Notion Made Simple course. I'll just add the URL into the chat. But guys, thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys very soon, and have a swell rest of the year. Cheers, everyone. Bye. I have to work out how to turn this off. My mouse wasn't working. There we go.